Hey everybody, this is Cameron from Obnoxious and Anonymous, and welcome to the Twin Peaks Thought of the Day for Sunday, February 18th, 2018. My guest today is somebody who you've seen online quite a bit, but he is making his video podcast debut. You know him on
I,
Twitter as Under the Fan 113, which I need to ask him about because why is it 113? Why isn't it 119? But
yeah, it should be.
but he also is the author of the website twinpeakslocations.blogspot.com. Please welcome Ivan Bukta. How's it going, man?
Great. How are you doing? Happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here. You lot of technical issues to get you here today, but you made it.
I did. It took 3 browsers and forever and half of a heart attack, but I'm here.
All right, so let's start just talking about who you are and how you got involved with Twin Peaks and the Twin Peaks community.
Okay, great. Sure. So I've started watching Twin Peaks when I was a 10-year-old kid in Serbia, and I was just really caught with it. As soon as I saw that the dead body of Laura Palmer being uncovered, I was hooked. And as soon as I saw that red room, my mind went, and I just knew this is something that, I've never seen something like this before. And it opened up, the floodgates of creativity. And it's just like, wow, you can do that on TV, and I knew this is something I wanted to do. And many, many years later, I ended up in New York, where I went to school. And then I came to LA to be, in the film industry. And since I moved to LA, I've been really having this passion for going to filming locations. That's something I really love to do, and LA offers a lot of that. It's why the film industry moved to LA in the first place, because it really has everything. And I've been taking these photos of filming locations just for myself and going and just sometimes alone, sometimes with my friends. And I joined Twitter a few months before Twin Peaks aired, specifically to connect with other Twin Peaks fans. And I started posting randomly some of these photos, and people were interested. People liked it. I didn't expect that. And then I was going to Washington last summer, and people told me, "Oh, you got to post those photos when you go." And I was like, "Really? All right." So there was just so many that I ended up creating this blog, and people really liked it, to my surprise, because I didn't think anybody would care. So that it's really because people told me, do it, post them. We want to see them. Otherwise, it would just be thousands of photos on my hard drive that only me and my friends would see, basically.
Now, how did you go from, just taking pictures of locations to watching an episode of the new season at Laura's house? How did that happen?
Well, of course, the Palmer family house, that's my holy grail of all Twin Peaks locations, and the most special place to me, especially because I have such a great love for Fire Walk with Me and Part 18. And so I was there outside taking a lot of photos, like like from this angle and that angle, and selfie and whatnot. That after a while, the lovely Mary Reaver comes outside, and then she's like, she's about to start talking, and I'm already about, starting to apologize. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to disturb you. I didn't mean to, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, do you want to see the fan? And I was like, yes. So I was like I was like, oh, actually, I know John Thorne, and we talked about you, and Courtney Stallings, I know them from Twitter, and Travis Blue. And so she felt a little bit more comfortable because I knew these people from Twitter and I've talked to them before. So I introduced myself to her and who I was. And this is before the last episode aired, so I didn't know yet that she was in the show. And so she showed me around, and I met her and her husband, Tim, they're both wonderful people. And they're like, oh, do you want to watch the scene with Sarah and Hawk? And I'm like, well, if you say so. So I sat down, and we were in that So they made it into the living room, but it used to be the dining room from Fire Walk with Me, where they had that really excruciating scene with Leland, Laura, and Sarah. But so that's that same area, and they played this show, and it was just kind of great and surreal experience. But they were just such wonderful people that they made such a special experience to me, because it's like they didn't have to do that. I was just like a random person who showed up outside, and they just showed me so much kindness, and they were so nice to me, that I was, it's something I'll never forget for the rest of my life. It may be like a small thing for them, but for me, it's something I'll always remember.
Completely. So the other day you had an article posted on the 25 years later site called The Scream of Empowerment. Actually, it's from October, but it was reshared the other day. And you actually bring up something that I've been saying for a while, which is the ending of part 18, while it does appear bleak and dark, that if you really kind of look at it, it is sort of bittersweet, but also, there is more an upbeat feeling to it if you really examine the details of those final moments. I'm assuming you felt the same way, because after reading your article about it. But what's really cool is apparently you took this article and you shared it with Cheryl Lee, who kind of gave it her stamp of approval. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've watched David Lynch since I was 10 years old. Like, I remember going to a video store at like 10 and getting copies of Blue Velvet and Wild at Heart. I remember people at the video store like, but I was like, nah, I'm just good. There's no restrictions in Serbia as far as that goes. So at least at that time. So I just knew that he's such an optimistic guy. If you see him talk, learn about him, he doesn't have a negative, pessimistic view of the world and life. So I knew, I think other than really Lost Highway, that kind of ended in a way that wasn't sympathetic to any of his protagonists. Most of his movies at least have like an optimistic, somewhat hopeful ending.
Let me just pause you right there.
Yeah.
The ending of the book, Wild at Heart,
right,
is Sailor walking away from Lula, and that is in the movie. The ending of the book is in the movie when he kisses Lula goodbye and walks away, and she yells Sailor, and he keeps walking. That's the end of the book.
Yeah.
So Lynch included that in the movie, but then he took it a step further and brought Sailor and Lula back together. And I remember at the time him saying, listen, I am not doing this for commercial reasons. I just could not live with myself if Sailor and Lula weren't together at the end of this movie. I feel like they've grown so much that they belong together. Yeah. So that is who we're dealing with. And in fact, before season 3 even aired, I was saying on these podcasts that I really feel like season 3 is going to have a happy ending, because if you go by his whole body of work, it's pretty much like that. And I remember if you go back and watch like way before season 3 ever aired, people would say, well, what do you think's going to happen? I said, I don't know, obviously, but I have a feeling by the end of this series, Laura Palmer is going to be alive.
Yeah.
Because he has this fascination of killing Cheryl Lee and bringing her back and all this stuff. So I was like, I just have this feeling like they're going to do something where Laura Palmer is going to be alive. I don't know how, but I feel like it's going to happen. And then as the series was going on, I kept getting messages from people going, I think you're right. And I mean, obviously it wasn't done in a way that I expected or thought, but it definitely, like I said, it's a dark, it's kind of a great ending in my opinion, or at least a great holding place, because it works. It works on a negative level. It works on a positive level. It's like wherever you are in your life, that ending will speak to you in a different way. But the way she screams and the electricity going out, if Laura is the one and electricity is the way the lodges like communicate and do stuff, if she blows that out, how much more of a positive ending do you need? Because that's showing you that Laura is just gonna. This may be where we're stopping at the moment, but in the grand scheme of things of the war, she's gonna win.
Yeah, I felt like that. I felt like this is a battle. This is a war. This is a great war. Always, David Lynch always deals with good and bad and the nuances of that. And the war continues. The war between Laura and Judy, it will go on forever. But I think this battle, it's Laura's win. I think. I didn't think that Lynch would leave Laura or Lynch and Frost, I should say, would leave the two of them, Laura and Cooper, the two most beloved characters in the lurch. I just felt like this is, one point that we got to. And like you said, I think this is a great point. You can read it whatever way you want. This is not an interpretation that came to me immediately. It's just something that came in time as I was thinking more and more about it. And I didn't feel negative about it even when I first watched it. I just felt like, it's just the whole mystery of it. Like, it's always going to make me wonder. I think for the next 25 years, it's always going to make me wonder.
I don't think you're going to have to wait that long.
Well, we'll see.
Really I'm not saying there's going to be a season 4, but I don't think we've seen the last of Twin Peaks in our lifetime. I think there'll be something, even if it's just a standalone Showtime movie thing. But what's kind of cool about that ending too is, and I've said this before, so I apologize if I'm repeating myself, but it kind of mirrors Fire Walk with Me, because at the end of Fire Walk with Me, Cooper and Laura are stuck in this alternate world together, right? Yeah. The world outside is going to hell, doppelgangers out there causing havoc, but Laura and Cooper are safe in this kind of hell world, at least, right? And here we are at the end of season 3. Once again, they're together in an alternate world. And like, I would think it would be more bleak if Laura was there by herself or Cooper was there by himself. But the fact that they're still together as a team, right? Yes. I that's why I take comfort, because if one of them, if Cooper is confused, what year is this? Well, he has Carrie / Laura there to balance him out. It's the yin to the yang, and I feel like them together, I'm more comforted with them being in this alternate world or wherever it is, because they're together. Whereas if they were apart, I think I would be more afraid.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, because Fire Walk with Me ends with both of them too, and that is a feeling that I had when part 18 ended, and I felt like it ended on the two of them, that was perfect, and they do have each other. And I feel you could argue also that in part 2, where Laura is in the red room and she tells Cooper, she whispers, was wake me up. Maybe it was bring me from Odessa to my home and wake me up. Maybe that was his mission. And maybe at first he was confused. Wait, why is this not working? And then, there was that voice, Sarah's voice from the pilot, and everything connects, and she wakes up, and maybe that was the mission,
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. We're probably not going to know, but that's okay, because it's funny because Twin Peaks is so personal to so many people. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I find so incredible about the Twin Peaks fans is some people just look at it as kind of a fun thing to meme about. As some people look at it as a very serious thing to dissect and theorize about. Some people are in between, but it can mean so many things to so many people. When it was just a TV show that came out, several years ago, and but it's almost like when George Lucas started Star Wars, he had no idea it was going to become this mythological thing. And, what started with, a body wrapped in plastic on the beach has become almost biblical, to a lot of people. It's Twin Peaks. Even though everybody loves the world of David Lynch, Twin Peaks, for whatever reason, maybe because of its length, maybe because of its complexity, it is almost religion for a lot of people.
Characters.
Yeah. And so much so in a few days, it's going to be February 24th. They're calling it, Laura Palmer Day. So it's almost like Christmas, like, in the way Laura is like, sent to Earth in this orb, and, it's like Laura is Jesus in this religion, or whatever.
It is. Yeah.
And to battle the demons and whatever else, of the hell world that Earth has, it's kind of interesting how they've really embraced this idea of Twin Peaks almost being religion and almost turning it very religious, starting with Fire Walk With Me with the angel. So I don't think it's lost on them that they're doing this, that they're injecting this kind of mythology and religious aspects into the show. Obviously Lynch is very big into transcendental meditation, and you can kind of feel that coming into with the idea of, the dreamer dreams the dream and lives inside the dream, about being focused in the moment. It's an extraordinary piece of work that obviously it works just by itself, but what really makes it work is because it latches itself into each individual that embraces it, who then carries the story forward themselves. So it's like Twin Peaks may not be airing on Showtime right now, but it's still living inside every single one of us every day. I mean, all you got to do is go on Facebook and Twitter, and you see it everywhere. So
I think I definitely agree with everything you said. And I would also add that fact that it leaves so many unanswered questions is really what, Lynch always talks about, leaving the room to dream. And I like that because I think a lot of films and series we watch just wrap up too nicely, too neatly, and life is never like that. And I think sometimes we get frustrated with all these unanswered questions, but I think these questions is what keeps us coming back and leaves us, haunting us and stays with us. I can speak for myself, at least.
Well, a lot of people refer to the show Lost, right, as being something that had a similar vibe at times. But I think one of the main differences between Lost and Twin Peaks is that, for the most part, in Lost, a lot of the questions were answered. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them. So in a way, you can still enjoy Lost for what it is, get involved in the characters, get involved in the mysteries, but it kind of feels concluded at the end. And so that, I think, in a way, kind of bottles that show, because while it works unto itself, because a lot of it is concluded, you're not going to see a lot of people theorizing and thinking about it and dreaming about it still to this day.
That's true.
Because Twin Peaks, season 3 more than maybe the first 2 seasons, but still, it leaves so much open, and you can get frustrated with that. But at the same time, though, they are smart enough to know by leaving so much open, it allows it to continue on in people's minds and hearts and souls and all that.
I felt like that about Part 18. I mean, as much as I love Part 8, and I think it's brilliant filmmaking, 18 is the one that really stuck with me, and I think that's why I wrote that article. And how I got to Sheryl Lee, I never told that story, but I took this writing, acting, directing workshop with Sheryl Lee and Gary Hirschberger, who played Mike, and it was a fantastic experience. I had such a great time, learned a lot. They're really smart, capable, kind, caring teachers. And I brought Sheryl Lee the hard copy of the article with a little dedication as a thank you to her, and to tell her how much this has meant to me. And, and I'm talking, I just felt like the ending can't be that negative. And, knowing Lynch's work for so long and blah, blah. And I'm talking, and she just goes, I think I know that article. And I'm like, no, you don't. I'm kind of thinking, nah, she must have gotten that mixed up. Never mind. Next week she comes, Ivan, I know your article. I've read your article. And she tells me, I never read articles about my work. And somebody sent this to me. She couldn't remember who it was, and told me, you have to read this article. So she read it, and she was just amazed with the creativity and imagination and the whole idea. She loved it. I tried to get her to ask her, like, well, does she agree with it or not? And she was like, well, I can't talk because of the contractual obligations. Like, okay, I'm going to back off. But I kind of just felt something, the way she connected to the article and the way that it did speak to her. I'm not going to say that she agrees with it or not, but it certainly spoke to her in some way, and she loved it. I could tell that. She was very enthusiastic about it. It just made me so happy to know that, you know, I got her stamp of approval. I hope everybody reads the article, you know, especially because I know a lot of people are kind of left with that feeling, oh God, it's such a depressing, sad feeling. And I'm not saying that my interpretation is right. It's just an interpretation. It's just one of many. But I feel like for those people who feel a little bit negative about it, then maybe it'll get them to think about it differently. I hope. That's what I'm hoping.
Well, you just said something incredibly positive in there too, which is she can't comment due to contractual obligations.
Yeah, yeah.
So if Twin Peaks: The Return is it, if it's over, then there's no reason to have contractual obligations anymore, right?
I would think so, unless those NDAs are for like 5 years past the airing or something. I don't know. I know CBS is very strict about that.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, a limited event series, it's over.
Right? I don't know. You know, I would not speculate one way or another. But you know, I would always welcome more. At first, I was a little nervous about the season 30, but it turned out great, and so I would always welcome more. But if this is the ending, I've said, to me, it's a perfect ending. I would love Lynch to do something. You know, it could be a film for CBS or something like. It could be just a Showtime movie. I would be plenty pleased with that.
I actually feel like that's going to be part of the deal. Like, please do a little bit of Twin Peaks over here, and then over here, you know, you can do whatever you want, you know.
Yeah, that could be part of his, you know, deal with Showtime, and so supportive of Twin Peaks, even when the ratings, you know, seem kind of not warranted. So I feel like, you know, they were much more supportive than ABC was at that time. So I think that's a great thing.
I still think that it would be great if Lynch did a 10-episode series, you know, like, since Naomi Watts is available, do the Mulholland Drive series we never got.
That would be interesting, because it would probably have to go in another way, you know. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, whatever Lynch does, I'm there. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to be interested. I'm not that I'm never critical. I'm not saying that. I can be critical too, but it's just something about his work that connects to me as a person, and I keep going back to it and rewatching it. So it really stays with me, especially his stuff after Twin Peaks. I think that's what I really connect to the most, like Mulholland Drive and Lost Highway and Inland Empire, and especially Fire Walk. So whatever he does, I'm gonna be there.
You know? And I'm like the complete opposite from you, because like I really love a lot of those later works or portions of them, but for me, the Lynch that I gravitate towards the most is the 1986 to 1992 Lynch, which is solid foundation stories that could bounce off into wild surrealistic ways, but always could come back to that foundation. And I love, and I know he's way past that now as an artist, but there's something about just the perfect story of Blue Velvet, you know, and it's like it's got a lot of surreal things to it, but it's a film that you could sit anybody down and watch it, and it's not, compared to his later works, right? Yeah. It's like a stage play, right?
It's like a Disney movie, basically.
Which he did do, by the way, with The Straight Story, which is amazing film.
I completely hear you. Yeah, I completely hear. Just for me, it's the weirder the better. So I don't know what that says about me.
No, and I understand that, because I mean, what you know, I was thinking about this the other day. It's like those later films are really exciting because you don't know what's going to happen, right? 1 second, a blonde woman is crying and masturbating, and the next second, 2 elderly people are crawling under a door and terrorizing her. So you're not prepared for what's going to happen, and that makes it exciting. When I compare and contrast the two styles, though, to me is, while it's exciting and I enjoy it, there's kind of like no rules, because anything could happen at any moment. Even when you go back to Eraserhead, it still feels like there's rules. It might be this, you know, crazy world, but there still seems to be sort of a foundation there. And after Fire Walk with Me, he just said, to hell with that, I'm gonna just do this, which is great, and that's wonderful, because he needed to do that. That's why I love something like The Straight Story, because it showed in the middle of all these chaotic movies he was making, he still could go back and do something quote unquote, maybe, traditional, but something that could show that, that like, because sometimes an artist will go on and change their styles and they can't ever go back. But that says to me that something like Inland Empire, something like the structure of season 3 of Twin Peaks, that's not David Lynch not able to do what he used to do with Blue Velvet in season 1 of Twin Peaks, but he's choosing to do something else. And I like the idea that it's a conscious choice, or maybe a subconscious choice on his part, but still he's making a choice to not do things in a certain way. It's not that he can't do it anymore. He just chooses not to do it. And that's something that I like to discuss on these shows is, okay, so if it's a conscious choice, why make that choice with this particular situation? Why do we have Cooper / Richard boiling guns in a restaurant? You know what I mean? Like that's a very particular choice. So I don't know. I like to discuss all that kind of stuff, but yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, there's so many wonderful things to explore, but I also think that NDAs, contractual agreements, I'm telling you, to have actors, locations, things like that tapped for so long says that they're leaving wiggle room for something else to happen. Because if it was just a limited series, right? I mean, it's over. I mean, when Homeland ends that season, those locations, those actors, whatever, are relieved from their contracts. They don't, so that says to me that they're definitely leaving open the possibility of something coming out. And the fact that Lynch hasn't come out and said no, well, that right there kind of gives you an answer too. Because
I hope so.
I mean, in 2000, Lynch had no problem coming out and saying Twin Peaks is dead.
Yeah, as a doornail.
Right. So
something that I would tie with what you were just saying. One thing that is in common to all his movies, even through the earlier, more, I guess, narrative work and later more experimental work, is I think a strong emotional core. I think other than maybe Lost Highway, that you can say that it feels kind of dispassionate towards his characters. It's that very humanistic, core is in all of his movies, and the emotion is very strong through all of this. So even when things get weird, I think he does always keep a lot of compassion for his protagonists, like even Nikki or Susan or whoever in Inland Empire. So I think that's one thing that is in common always, And Fire Walk with Me, that movie, always breaks my heart, and that especially that scene with the Laura and James meeting in the woods, and where she tells him your Laura disappeared. It just breaks my heart every time, and it was just such a powerful performance on both of their parts, and on Lynch as a director. So I think that's something that there's always in common, no matter what.
What was really great about that scene with Laura and James is, James tells that story to Donna in the pilot about the last night, the previous night he saw Laura. And what was great about that scene on Fire Walk with Me is it matched identical to what he told Donna. Mm-hmm. What always gets me about Fire Walk with Me, as much as I adore it and enjoy that movie, is that so much of the movie is not at all what they described in the series as happening. Right? Yeah. But in that one instance, it matches perfectly. And that's why I think no matter what you think of that movie, that's a scene that everyone connects to, is the James and Laura scene, because that is straight from the series. It's got the same, Laura music. It's got the same mood, and it works wonderfully. And then when he talks about how she screamed in his ear and ran off into the woods, well, we get to see that, and it plays pretty much exactly the way a lot of people imagine it being. It's fascinating. I mean, there's one of the great things about Fire Walk with Me is how you can, at the same time, celebrate every inch of that movie, and at the same time, you can also pick that movie entirely apart too, because of a lot of things. But season 3, as I've said many times, season 3, if anything, season 3 did is it strengthened Fire Walk with Me. Yeah, and I think that's ultimately Lynch's was Lynch's goal in a way, because Fire Walk With Me was so destroyed. I mean, it was, I mean, I was there. It was horrible. It got massacred. Nobody liked it. And we're not talking just the critics. The fans didn't like it. They all rejected it. You know, there may have been a handful that didn't, but for the most part, I remember going to school and everyone's just like, that was a piece of crap, you know, and they didn't even, and then they would rent it, or someone would rent it and be like, what did you ever see in that show? This was awful. Like, this is the kind of stuff that I would be hearing in the hallways. So I knew
that made me so mad.
Well, you know, again, it was like one of those movies. You know, a year later, Jennifer would have the same thing happen to her with Boxing Helena. Now, some people might say that's a different type of thing, but still, you know, I remember talking with Jennifer about this. You know, Fire Walk With Me not doing well, Hotel Room not doing well, On the Air not doing well, Boxing Helena not doing well. It kind of felt like the critics were just saying, enough with this Lynch crap. We're done. We're done with it. And so in a way, Boxing Helena didn't stand a chance even before it came out.
It's such a shame. I think one thing I'll tell you, I told Cheryl Lee, because of this, knowing this exact thing, I told her, listen, I just want you to know that I know Fire Walk With Me was really criticized at the time where it came out, but to this 12-year-old boy from Serbia, it meant everything. And she just went, oh, like he gave me this huge hug. And I was just very glad to have the opportunity to tell her that, because of all this vitriol that the movie got. And I was like, well, at least there's one person who loved it. Like, if it means anything in the world at all, at least there's that. I really connected to that movie. I've loved it from the first time I saw it. I was 12, and from the first time I saw it, I was connected to it, and it stayed with me. And it's still my favorite movie. And yes, I can see the flaws in it. And yes, you could tear it apart, but I think the strength of it outweighed the weaknesses.
No, that's always been my issue with it too. Is like, you know, I think the strength, that there's too many strengths to deny it.
Especially Sharon Lee and Ray Wise. I mean, the two of them just like killed it. Killed it.
That's never been an issue for me with that movie. You know, in fact, my thing with Fire Walk With Me was not so much what we saw in the movie. I actually never really had a problem with anything we saw in the movie. My issues was that the things we didn't see in the movie, and I'm not even talking about the missing pieces. You know, I refer to, you know, I just wish we had a scene of Laura Palmer tutoring Josie in English, and Laura looking at Johnny. But Laura looking at Josie and kind of realizing, oh, you're kind of like me. You have something going on underneath too. I can see that. And Josie getting kind of like freaked out by that. You know, just little elements like that, that I would have loved to have seen. My big thing that I keep saying is, I don't want a throwaway line to Ronette Pulaski saying, I haven't seen you since I was thrown out of One-Eyed Jacks. Like, you have an R-rated David Lynch movie. Let's see Blackie throwing Laura Palmer, Ronette Pulaski out of One-Eyed Jacks. Like, how epic would that be? Like I would
really need a miniseries for that. See, Showtime could do something like that, like a Fire Walk With Me miniseries, you know?
Mm-hmm. In fact, one thing that I brought up a long time ago was, as much as I love, you know, the second half of season 2, you know, especially with the Wyndham Earl stuff and all that, I would have loved, after the Leland Palmer death scene, you know, the Tim Hunter episode, if the back half of season 2 had just gone back in time and just been Fire Walk With Me for the back half of season 2, and then ended season 2 with Laura being dead, and then that's it.
That would be, I think ABC wasn't ready for something like that at that time.
But that would have been incredible to, like, because you have all the actors there. You could have kept Ray Wise on the payroll, and you know, and you brought back Cheryl Lee, and just, you know, done the you know, would have been, yes, it would have been an ABC version of it, but still, you could have done a lot to, you know, you would have what 12, 13 episodes to do it. That would have been perfect.
Yeah, I think Showtime would definitely be a much more suited, you know, house for something like, you know, to be open for ideas and opportunities like that. I think it's just that we're talking such a long time ago, and network TV just wasn't that open to experimentation.
Of course, that was. But I'm just saying, in retrospect,
it would be great, yeah. And Sheryl Lee and Ray Wise and Grace Zabriskie, they just are three most amazing actors you could possibly ask for.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's, I don't know. It's the whole thing is just overwhelming.
It is. I think, but for me, from my personal experience, I'll say this. I love the most, I've been to Washington State twice now, and I love the most going to those locations there. Not that I don't love these locations in California, but those in Washington are so iconic. And I really wish, every fan, if he or she gets the opportunity to go, that they should, because it's just a special feeling of being there. And the fact that they shot Fire Walk with Me there, I think really plays a lot into it, even though I know there have been controversy here or there about things. But I love that, like, they, going back to Washington State, it's always such a special place, and you know what, one thing I realized going now second time, it wasn't that Lynch and Frost made this special because they filmed there. This place was already special. They just caught that, they latched onto it, and they made advantage of it. But Washington State, that's already a special, place to begin with.
No, I agree. And it's funny that you say that, like, I've been saying that for a long time too, that every Twin Peaks fan should take the pilgrimage.
Yes, yeah, that's our Mecca. That's our Mecca. Exactly. If they can,
and listen, I'm not saying anything about, the Twin Peaks festivals, but you should go at a time when the Twin Peaks festival is not going on. Yeah. So that you can just take it as sort of your own spiritual journey and not just, be there with like 600 other people.
Exactly. And I think, I always get these messages on Twitter and online about people telling me, oh, I love your pictures so much. I love your blog and I'll never get to go. And I always tell them, you don't know that, because I was sure, listen, I'm like from Serbia, half a world away. I never thought I would be there one day. It's just, some luck, a lot of will, determination, and here I am. But, I never thought it would happen. So I always tell people, you never know, and it might. And like you say, it's not really about the festival. It's just having that experience of being in front of those falls or being in front of that diner. And it's just, your heart is full. That's the feeling I get.
And what I was telling people over the weekend too is, what's really cool is it's not like Lynch and Frost had this, pilot script, and then they went and, found these locations, and then that was it. Yeah. What they did was they wrote, more or less the pilot. Yeah. And then when they went looking for locations and they found these locations, they then went back and tailored the script to those locations. So it wasn't like, okay, we're not going to take this town and make it what we need. When they found the town, they let the town speak to them, and then let that inform the script. And so what that did was, and you realize that when you're there, is you are actually in Twin Peaks. You're not just visiting. Like a lot of, you go to locations, right? All the time. You can go, okay, yeah, it's a location for this, location for this. Yeah. But when you're in the Snoqualmie North Bend area, you feel like you're there in the actual town. It's like, okay, there's the hotel, there's falls. Let me go a mile up the road. Oh, look, there's the diner just right there. Oh, when Laura's putting in the Meals on Wheels food into the station wagon, and she looks that way. Yeah. Well, guess what? The direction she looks, and you see the old woman and the grandson, that is exactly the image you would see if you were standing where Laura is standing. So they took the geography of the area and made it, like legit,
Yeah, that you're right. You're exactly right. I feel a lot of times I'll go to these locations, and this is not underestimating California. I love LA. I love LA County. There's so many amazing locations here. But you'll go to locations, and the feeling I'll get is not, oh man, what a great place, but more like, damn, like Lynch and Frost really made something amazing out of this. And my admiration for, Lynch, especially as director, for being able to do that. But when you go to Washington, especially these like main places, it's like you don't really have to do much. You just put the camera there and get the right framing and the right lighting, and you're there, man. It's magic. And I really hope every Twin Peaks fan can do it. I hope so.
And I always tell people, go to the falls at night. Right?
Oh, I mean, I haven't done that. I haven't even done that.
See, during the day is great. It's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It's gorgeous. but at nighttime is what
Wow.
Laura would say is my time. It is the most amazing thing ever because where you stand is exactly where they put the tripod down to shoot the hotel in the falls. But
Yeah, I
they
know what
have
you
these
mean.
spotlights that go across and they hit the falls in the hotel. And so not only are you standing in the place where the nighttime shots of the hotel are,
Yeah.
but the spotlights on the hotel and falls is the exact same lighting that you see in the show. So you are not just seeing an image from the show, you are actually there with the same lighting from the show. So you're not like going, oh, I can see how they did that. No, you are literally there in the show. You are now at the Great Northern at nighttime, and Bob is flying over your head, and and it is
Yeah.
really one of the most transformative experiences I've ever had in my life.
And they, yes, and they really have kind of from first time I went there was in 2007, and then last year second time, and I think they worked a lot on it. They cleaned it up and really redone it nicely outside there. The only thing is that they closed the access down to the falls where you could go, but now you can't go all the way down, to be underneath the falls themselves, which you used to be able to do and get in the water and everything. But I assume people were acting stupid and throwing garbage or creating problems or whatever, and so they kind of ruined that for everyone. So it's kind of shame that you can't go all the way down there. But what I did the last time, I took that little trail through the forest and then went down the river, like basically where nobody was there, and just kind of chilled and played, Twin Peaks music and just watched the Snoqualmie River. And it's just, you are such in a special place there. And I really envy people who live over there. And everybody was so friendly to me when I was there. I've met Uber drivers and really cool local people who were, a lot of them have no idea about Twin Peaks, or very little. When I was at the Double R Diner and I was taking photos of the wall to the restroom where it has all these photos from location, from original filming and everything, and people were just like, what are you doing? And I said, oh, it's Twin Peaks. What? It's Twin Peaks is this show. Oh, okay. They shot here. Okay. It's like they'll know, but not really know.
I'll tell you a funny story about that. In 2003 was my first time that I had gone there. Mm-hmm. There wasn't one thing about Twin Peaks in that entire town, like any of the gift shops, nothing. And I was like, this show is pretty big, like why isn't there anything in the gift shops? And people would just tell me like, that was a long time ago, and we moved on. It's almost like Fire Walk with Me in a way. The show getting canceled and Fire Walk with Me not doing well, and 20 years of nothing there, that they just kind of put it in the past and moved on. Because I was shocked. I was thinking, if you go to Santa Cruz, there's Lost Boys stuff, still, but this area really kind of just put it aside and moved on. And so it was really great when the new series was getting ready to go on that, the mayor and a lot of people involved with that area were very excited about bringing back this feeling. Because I mean, like, listen, it was great not having a bunch of just Twin Peaks crazies up there when I was there, because it was quiet and and all that. But it was shocking that they weren't even acknowledging the show anymore back in 2003. Like, that was a long time ago.
I mean, yeah, no, I get you, and I hope they do make the most out of it, because I'm always in support of local businesses and then local tourism, and it's really important. This is a way to get people out there, and they need that for the local economy. It's a good thing, and I think you do want to make most out of it, and even a place like Double R, Tweeds. Why not? It's a good thing, as long as fans are respectful. That's the one thing I want to emphasize when you go to all of these locations. Like when I do, the number one thing is act respectful. You're not entitled to a photo. If somebody doesn't want to allow you to take a photo of their house or building or whatever, that's their right. But I find as long as you're respectful, as long as you don't act entitled, that people are going to be receptive. Yesterday, I'll tell you a funny story. It just happened yesterday. I went to the Zone, which I was looking for so long, and I couldn't find it. And Stephen Miller from Twitter finally did. great guy. He's a genius with Google Maps and finding locations. So I went there, and I was kind of, it's a private property. So to get the exact screenshot from where they were shooting, you had to be inside the private property. And so I was kind of going around the fence, trying to take photos. I saw a hole in the fence, but I was like, no, Ivan, let's not get arrested today. So I'm taking photos, and this guy comes up, and his dog is barking at me, and he comes out, and he's like, is that for a school project? And I start explaining, oh, hi, how are you doing? My name's Ivan. I have this blog, Twin Peaks Locations, blog spot. And so I started telling him about it. He's like, okay. So I see that he's cool. He says, oh, I'm watching over that property. I own the property next door. And so I want to make sure there's no, nothing going on. I'm like, oh, no problem. I'm all good. Thank you. So I start walking away, and then I stop myself. And if you know The Simpsons, I had that Lisa needs braces moment. Do you know what I'm referring to? Dental plan, Lisa needs braces. Simpsons fans will get it. I was walking away and like, Ivan, he says he owns the property next door. Ivan, he says he owns a property. And it's like, think. It's like, damn it, I could get shot. So I come back and kind of very meekly, I'm like, excuse me, sir. And his dog is barking at me. And I'm like, I was just wondering, you said you own the property next door. Do you think I could maybe get a shot? He's like, oh, I can let you in this property right here. But, again, this was just being very nice and respectful and not acting like, he has to do anything for me. And I was there. Took 2 or 3 minutes. That's what oftentimes is all I'll have. It's 2 or 3 minutes. Sometimes the photo is a little blurry. It's like, damn, I didn't have the time. And because you want to be respectful to people, I am taking away from his time. So I hope fans, when they go to these places, that's how they act. Don't take too much time. Don't act like you're entitled. Be respectful. And I think, in that case, you'll have a great experience. And I got the shots. There were, I was happy with. So that was perfect.
Let me just say that if there are Twin Peaks fans that are kind of doing what you do and they get pictures of places and they're that hardcore fans, I'm pretty sure that 99.9% of them are as respectful as you are saying, because the casual fans that are cuckoo for instance, they're not going to go that extra mile and go, they're not going to hunt down the zone. But since we're on the subject of fans and casual fans being respectful, I want to address a controversy that happened on Friday. So as you know, I run the Obnoxious Anonymous, blog and Facebook page and YouTube channel and all that. But I also admin on a few different other pages as well. And one of those pages is one called Twin Peaks Worldwide. And we share stories about everything having to do with Twin Peaks, David Lynch, whatever. And it could be really positive stories. It could be like somebody saying, oh, I loved episode 18. I thought it was great. And then we'd also share stories that say, I hate episode 18. What do they do with Twin Peaks? I can't stand it.
They ruined it.
Yes, they ruined it. I love all points of views. But every day, when I have time, I will check news about Twin Peaks online and see, what's new. If there's anything new, there really isn't anything new at this moment. But on Friday, when I did a Google search for brand new Twin Peaks news, there were a lot of websites that were talking about that they caught Lara Flynn Boyle drinking and driving, basically, sipping whiskey in her car. And I thought, wow, that is really unfortunate. That's very sad. Now she's committing felonies. So what on earth is going on? We haven't heard from her in a long time. Every time we hear about her, she seems more and more depressed, more and more sad. So I took that story, or one of the sites that was talking about the story, and I posted it on Twin Peaks Worldwide. And it was immediately, there were 3 different groups of people on there discussing it. There was several people on there that would say, I can't believe you shared this filth. Leave her alone. This is her private moment. Why are you sharing these horrible stories about her? This is terrible. I'm unfollowing this page. I'm out of here. You guys are disgraceful. And then there'd be other people saying, look at her. She's horrible. Look at that awful plastic surgery. And they would be ripping her apart. And then there'd be other people saying, oh, this is really unfortunate. This is very sad. I wish she finds help, etc. So
Yeah.
anyway, this continued for a while, and finally I was just like, you know what, this is ridiculous. And I thought that the best comments were the ones that were offering, you know, love and support. And to be honest, I share this story because I want to let people know what everybody, you know, how everyone's doing. And there's so much love and so much support in the Twin Peaks community that I thought, you know, if all these people come together to, you know, help Walter Olkowitz in his leg, then why can't the Twin Peaks community come together and help Lara Flynn Boyle too? If they see her on the street, you know, say hi to her, be nice to her, you know, see what's going on there. Anyway, so I started going through the comments and just going, okay, that's an extremist view, delete. That's an extremist view on the other side, delete. And I kept the tempered comments because it was a sensitive story, as it ended up being. And then people were coming at me going, you're trying to censor us and our statements. I hate you and all this shit. I'm like, I just wanted to share a story that was like on the top of all the news cycles of Twin Peaks for that day. I thought that she needed support. Thought she needed help. You know, hey, you guys want to freak out one way or the other? Awesome. But, you know, the Twin Peaks community is wonderful, but there are those people out there that are kind of casual Twin Peaks fans that are a little cuckoo at times. And, you know, and those aren't the people we really have to worry about. But it is amazing how, like, if I share something from 25 years later, it will get 14, 15 likes, maybe a couple comments. You share something about Lara Flynn Boyle committing a felony, and next thing you know, you have, you know, 85 comments from all different angles, everyone screaming about it. And, you know, I thought that you, Ivan, had one of the best comments out there, which is like, I just feel really sad about this, which is how I felt.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I think I do feel that way. And I want to preface this by saying I'm not Lara Flynn Boyle's biggest fan. And I'm still a little bit peeved that she didn't do Fire Walk with me personally. But, you know, it's not about that. Ultimately, I think, you know, it's a bad situation to be in, and I don't wish this to her. And I think she gets a lot of bad rep. Help, and I think it's very important for all of us to show compassion. And we don't know what she's going through, and it's easy to judge others and to tell others what they should be doing. But I think one thing that always makes me think about, well, like when Laura runs out after she gets that picture from Mrs. Tremond, and in that deleted scene, Norma's like, what is it with that Laura? And then, you know, Shelley runs out in, you know, when her daughter's in trouble in The Return. And you know how important it is in that kind of moment. You don't know what this person is going through. Show some compassion for them. And I think we need to show compassion for Lara Flynn Boyle. And, you know, maybe this will be a wake-up call for her, and maybe she'll get help. I don't want her to be in that situation. You know, whatever my personal feelings about role or not, listen, every time I watch a pilot, I'm so impressed with her. She's great. In those scenes with Harold, she's great. Her character kind of went off the rails, but she did a lot of great work. And I just feel it's not fair, all this flack she gets. And for people, you know, to be, you know, rooting for her to fail, I mean, you know, I would never think that way. I just think it's fair. It's a fair story to share. I think it's public. It's out there, but I think it's good to actually, you know, always be balanced.
Well, of course. I just felt that, you know, this wasn't like a story about her sitting on the sidewalk having some whiskey. This was about her drinking and driving, right? Which this is a pretty serious thing. You know, it's against the law. And, you know, I know there's a lot of people who hate Lara Flynn Boyle, and there's a lot of people that are on the other side. And like I couldn't understand the other side either. They were saying, why are you even sharing this? You know, just let her be. And it's like, really, just let somebody just commit felonies and not try to, you know, because
she could hurt herself or hurt somebody else, and you know, nobody wants that. You know, even if you hate Lara Flynn Boyle and you don't know her, I don't know why you would hate her. But even if you do, you know, do you really want her to get hurt? I mean, God forbid, I don't know. I never think about, you know, people that way, no matter what they've done or said. It's, you know, you don't want harm to somebody else. I don't, you know.
No, exactly. So I just wanted to let people know like where I was coming from with that. And I wasn't trying to censor anybody's comments. I just was trying to keep the comment board civil, because it was just getting out of control. Yeah, on both sides actually. So Ivan, what is next for you? Are you still doing the Twin Peaks locations? Or are you trying to grab other things too? We talked before that you might be heading up towards my area, neck of the woods, because of Big Little Lies that's filmed in my area. So is that what's coming up for you, or what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I still have a more, Twin Peaks and David Lynch locations to do. There's always more. At least things, I've been to most exteriors at this point, and I have them on my blog. And one thing I would say when people go in there, there's so many photos, to use the search function in the top right-hand corner. Thanks, Gloria, for discovering that. And find a specific term like Carey or Palmer or, Mulholland or whatever it is, and all the photos will pop up. So there is still places that I want to go to, and my buddy Carl and I, Snoqualmie Carl from Twitter, who's been a great road buddy for Twin Peaks and Lynch locations. We're still planning to go to Big Ed's gas farm, the second Big Ed's gas farm that was used in the original series, which is in the middle of LA National Forest, Newcombs Ranch. And then Jacques' cabin is right next door too. I mean, I think a dilapidated state, but still should be there. So that's our next stop. And then Morongo. If they'll let me or not. But yeah, so there's still a few locations that I want to go, and then Monterey and Big Sur and that whole area I would love to go, even without the filming locations, because it's just so beautiful. And then to Vertigo locations in San Francisco, I would really love to go. And
hang on.
Green locations in Santa Rosa.
But Vertigo also is about a half hour away from me at the Mission San Juan Bautista.
Yeah, that place. Oh, I'd love to go there. Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
And the bell tower's still there and everything. It's fantastic.
Wow. Yeah. No, that would be awesome. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. So there was that article. I hope people check out Empowerment. And I'm writing another article for 25-year-old. That's I'm working on. I'm always doing, revising right now, and so that's what I'm.
Hang on 1 second, Ivan. You were cutting out. Can you repeat what you just said?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I was saying that I'm also working right now on 2 pilots that I'm revising, and that I'm trying to get a foothold as a TV writer, basically in Hollywood. So that's also what I'm working on right now. But I'll always be going to locations. Whether I post it or not. Whether I think people are interested or not, I'm always going to be going, because what I hope will be the legacy really of that site is for people to use it in the future as their own screenshots, to use it to be able to find those places. There's a couple of maps that I posted on there you can also find if you need, or people can always contact me, with a couple of exceptions that are private residences that I, for various reasons wouldn't give out. I'll always give people the locations. I'm not like some of the fans who are like, no, I'm hoarding all the information to myself. No, I always want to share everything. Share photos, share locations, whatever people need, so they know they can contact me, and I'll always reveal to them. The only one, I think, one location that I won't share is Carrie's house, which is in Little Rock, California. And because, let's just say, I almost got in trouble there, where the person who was in the house was not so pleased with me taking photos. And I just kind of lucked out and left in an Uber before they could confront me. But it was kind of a dicey situation. So I wouldn't want any fans to get into trouble there, going over there. So that's one location that I won't give up publicly,
Oh, that's funny.
It was a little scary,
Oh, we lost you. Oh, there you're back. Are you back?
Usually
your camera's out. There you go. You're back. You're okay. You're back. Okay. You just appeared for a second.
I say usually I have very great experiences going to places. That one was an exception.
Yeah, I'm somebody who likes to share a lot of stuff too. So as those of you who've been following this channel, that I'm working very hard on the fan film that I'm doing, Queen of Hearts. Been working, like doing like casting for the last week or so. I want to give a shout out. I did it online, but I'm going to do it here as well. Carolina, you know who you are. You're wonderful. You're awesome. We love you. She has been helping me go through literally hundreds, and I mean hundreds of people who are submitting for this. And, we're putting everybody into different folders and stuff like that. And yesterday I started calling people, letting them know, I really like what I've seen. So I'm moving you to kind of the second round of auditions. And they're completely lit up about it. And, this is going to be a very lengthy casting process because I have to do it entirely over the phone and Skype because they're coming, if they're all over the place. And so like, I'm going to have to find, the right person for this role. And then I'm going to find the right person for this role. And then I'm going to have to bring them both onto Skype at the same time so I can kind of see them side by side and see how they're, that's going to, the chemistry, that is a very different way of working for me. Usually it's, you find local actors in your area and then, and then there it is. Yeah. But, I'm casting far and wide, big net for this. So it's been really exciting. I'm still working on revising the script, getting that together, which in itself is a process, as you can imagine.
Oh yeah, sometimes bigger process than writing, actually.
It can be. It can be. And
I know. Oh boy. But I think it's a great creative process of auditioning actors and getting actors for the role. Every actor just wants an opportunity, a chance to show what they've got. And, we just need to give them the respect. When I was in that workshop with Cheryl and Gary, I got to act really for the first time. The only acting I've ever done was like in, short student films to help my colleagues basically in school. But other than that, this was like the first chance I got to act really. And it's a hard thing to do, to stay in the moment and to be focused and not be distracted, especially when you got lights and people and camera and always respect to that collaboratively. It's always going to be a good experience.
Yeah. I also posted online that I have Millie, who's been on this podcast a lot. She's going to be helping out with the costumes. There's Eva Ospo, who online probably. She's going to be helping out with a lot of the costumes as well, so that's great. I have but I am still looking for some people. I need to find some people who are well versed in doing some VFX work. There's not a lot, but there's a little bit that I would like to have. And unfortunately, I don't know how to do that. I can't do everything. I'll tell you, there's a lot of wonderful people online, like I mentioned Carolina and Anna before. There's a lot of people who help me with a lot of things that they can do in other places. But what I would really love, the dream, of course, is to find somebody who is local to me or local to, places where we may be shooting, so that, because I kind of need a liaison too to help me out with finding certain things and booking certain things, because you can't do everything yourself. There's a reason why you see 200 million people at the end credits of a movie. The director can't do it all. So if there are people interested in if you live in California, Oregon, Washington, that area, it'd be great to if you get in touch with me, be great to maybe have a few of you guys helping me out, because there's a lot of things that need to be done if we're going to be doing it this summer, which is the plan. So there's that. So just reach out and contact me. But what I was starting with at the beginning of this is that so I've been calling the actors over the last day or so. But what's really fun is when I started this project, I said to people that this wasn't going to be a thing where the project, we go underground, we make the movie, and then it just comes out. I'm sure there'll be aspects of it, but I really like this idea of bringing everybody through the whole production as well. So when I have 5 or 6 actors that seemed interesting to me, I'm posting them like online, like, hey guys, what do you think of these people? And I just love just hearing people's comments, and they get really into it, because I think it just increases everybody's love for the project, and it kind of makes everyone feel like a part of it, because it honestly is if it wasn't for everybody helping this film to get made, it wouldn't even be getting made. So I want to involve them in as much of the process as possible. So that's just been a lot of fun, and everyone's been really wonderful. And even I've had some of the potential actors contact me saying, it's really fun, like watching everyone get really excited and say, oh, I like this person, or I like this person. And even if it's not them that they're even talking about, it's they cannot believe the excitement, because usually when you do a low budget film, you're hoping anybody sees it. And maybe it goes to Sundance or wherever, and and then if it comes out at all, it goes straight to Redbox or iTunes or whatever. And this is a film that it's never going to be available on Redbox or wherever, but because obviously we don't own the rights to everything, but it's a movie that is going to be seen by a lot of people, because there's a lot of people that are invested in Twin Peaks and the community. So they know that going in, it's like, this might be the biggest audience I ever have. So they're taking this very seriously, which is, that was the whole point. This wasn't going to be something that, we grab a camcorder and shoot in people's backyards. This wasn't, this is something I've wanted to do for a long time, and my schedule was clear.
It's great to get to do it.
Yeah, and my schedule was clear, so I was like, hey, you know what? Let's try this out, and it came together. So here we are. And I just want to,
I would tell you just one thing when you're auditioning. You're not looking just at the physical aspect. Just remember, you're looking for specific qualities. With Annie, it could be like the innocence, or with Cooper, it could be his, strength. And so what I would recommend is don't stay, too faithful to the original cast. Don't think of them too much when you're casting. Create your own vision of these characters, as long as you keep that main quality, the heart of their character, in mind. That's what I would suggest, as my own piece of advice.
Of course, believe me, I don't think Carolina and I are going through these actors going, well, they don't look like Kyle, so delete. It's not like that at all. It's about just finding someone who can convey a similar essence.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, it's not just about finding the right person for the role; it's finding the right chemistry and things like that. So, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but that's part of its part of the
excitement.
Fun. Yeah, it's very exciting, and I know a lot of people in the community and that follow this channel are very excited about it too. Because every time I post something, people are really like, this is so fun, and that's ultimately what it should be, is just fun. I think
when fans get together, it's a great thing.
Oh yeah, and especially when you have as many people in the community that are so supportive. Your site, my site, the 25 Years Later site, there's a lot, the Blue Rose, the Bookhouse Babes, all that stuff,
Bookhouse Babes.
Yeah, we're all kind of uplifting each other.
Yes, exactly. And I love that. I find a lot of these fan circles can really kind of veer into negativity. And I just find, and I'm not always the most optimistic or cheerful person. I am Serbian. We're very fatalistic people. But I find, people, Twin Peaks fans on Twitter are so positive and so optimistic, so hopeful. And I really love that. And I connect with that so much. And I want to give a shout out to a few people who told me to do this interview in the first place, Brett and Gloria and Caroline, who were so supportive. And I love them. They're great gals. And all of the community on Twitter, I have to say, they've been so supportive of my blog. I never really expected that. And I'm so grateful to all of them for even just being interested. And I love to be a part of it.
Well, I gotta say, I love the fact that you came on to this video. This is your first video podcast. So how was it? Was it okay?
Yeah, it was. I mean, other than technical difficulties we had in the beginning, which I thought, oh man, this is never gonna happen now, you know. But I'm glad because you know I think the first thing that I told you when you contacted me, like I really don't know your podcast. I've never listened to it. I don't know as a guest. And you told me, oh, don't worry, it's gonna be fine. Because I was like, you know what? Let me be honest, because I don't want to be okay. Ivan, tell us what you think about this podcast. Then I'll be like, what happened was. So I just trusted the words of mouth, my friends, Bookhouse Babes from Twitter, that they told me it's the right thing. Do it. You'll have fun. And so it turned out great. You've been so nice, and I want to thank you for having me and them for being so supportive.
Well, I certainly hope you'll come back again because it's been wonderful having you on.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So let the good people who are watching, how do people get in touch with you? Where do they find your site? Give them all the info.
Okay, so if you want to, I'm only on Twitter. I don't do Instagram and Facebook. So Under the Fan 113. Yes, it should be 119 now. I agree, but it was before the 119. So now I don't want to change it. It's like just a lucky number for me. That's all. Well, Under the Fan is obviously everybody knows what that refers to.
Can I just say something? If you don't know what that refers to, you need to stop watching these podcasts. All right.
Yeah. I mean, I would think, I'm just assuming everybody knows. I guess I shouldn't be assuming that, but I think, so Under the Fan 113 at Twitter. My blog is Twin Peaks Locations Blogspot. And the article that we were talking about earlier, The Scream of Empowerment, if you just Google that, you'll find it easily.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate it. And I must rip the earphone straight out of my head.
Well, it's over now, so it's all right. You can do it.
Exactly. But everyone, thank you so much for watching these videos. Of course, I'm sorry we're not doing as many as we used to do, but as you can imagine, I am incredibly busy every day trying to get everything together. But we do these when we can, and we do these when we have something to talk about. Obviously, as the film increases towards production, there'll be a lot more to share and a lot more things we can discuss as well. And maybe there'll be actually some Twin Peaks news at some point that we can actually discuss besides Lara Flynn Boyle. Hopefully,
and better news for Lara Flynn Boyle.
Yeah, let's maybe hopefully get some better news for her. That would be good.
Yes,
But guys, thank you so much for everything. Thank you for all your love and support. Thank you for helping to get Queen of Hearts even this far. Be sure to give these videos a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure to subscribe to us on Twitter. We have the Obnoxious Anonymous Twitter account, as well as the Queen of Hearts one, as well as the same two for Facebook, Obnoxious Anonymous and Queen of Hearts. Twin Peaks Worldwide is also there if you want to like and subscribe to that Facebook page as well. But yeah, you guys, this has been #super fun talking Twin Peaks with you. And Ivan, it's just a real pleasure. So in the meantime, everybody, take it easy. We will see you soon. Take care. Bye.